Welcome to the Violinist podcast. My name is Maxim Filatov. Today we have really great, I would say, outstanding violinist, Midori. Hello, Midori.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, well, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. I'm fine.
I was reading your biography and was thinking to ask something about you are doing so much of everything, and I thought that it's better maybe if you would choose the one thing which you would like to talk about. What is the main in your professional life?
I think that there are different projects I'm engaged in. Some of them have been going on for a long time, like my nonprofit organizations that bring music to those that actually may not have much of an opportunity to be in contact. Organizations that bring people together through music, as well as performances, teaching, different things. I'm doing a lot of different things, which is really so interesting for me, and they stimulate each other. They motivate me very much.
Yes, I'm quite interested about this your project. You do some project for United Nations, right?
I actually do different projects through my nonprofits, and sometimes there is a collaboration with the United Nations, but United Nations Messenger of Peace, we don't particularly receive an assignment except to, through our own existing work, to support and try to bring the messages that are coming from the sustainable goals, the global sustainable goals. So it's not that they have an existing work towards which I participate, but it's more of an overall scheme of things that we support a few of, or in general, the global sustainable goals. And of course, some of my activities directly connect in supporting their goals, to do with education, to do with youth, to do with gender equality, education.
Yes,
access.
And yes, what I read that you have. If I'm correct, you have a kind of organization which trying to educate people who don't have access to professional education, music education, right? Yeah, that's really great because I also doing this podcast, to help people, violinists also, that they, hear something, maybe they view differently on the violin playing and on the music. But do you have anything like what is the most important in your view, like to become violinist and good musician?
That's a very difficult question, and perhaps a very personal personal response. It's not anything academic, perhaps, that I will have to say here. I feel that for me, what's important is to really connect to the community, to do my best to participate in community, to perhaps try to bring something to the community that might be of help. And doing that through music, doing that as a violinist, is definitely one way, one of many ways that this should be done, can be done. And I enjoy doing this. I particularly enjoy the part of bringing people together through music. And that means that bringing music to places where people may not often have a chance to be exposed to the arts, or the young people that I go with or my colleagues that I go with, those that I collaborate with, we all come together. Music is bringing us together, whether the music is being shared with those that may not be living in the same country or in the same area as I am. There's that possibility. Or I go with my colleagues and I brought together through this mission of bringing music to those who may otherwise not have that opportunity. Music can bring people together. When people get together, I think there is an opportunity, there is a possibility to start a conversation, a starting point in which we can get to know each other. And of course, when we start to get to know each other, we also can learn so much about our own ideas, ourselves, our beings. And I feel that there is a lot to be inspired by all this.
So for you, music is like a language to connect people.
I think in a way, it's something that brings us together. And we may not have a spoken language together, but there is some communication. I think music is what really can bring communication.
And nowadays, well, it always was. It was quite difficult for musicians financially, first of all, and many people, me myself too, very often thinking like, why I'm doing this. And did you have like this kind of thoughts, and what kind of persuade you to follow musician career?
As I was growing up, I had many different interests. I had interest in history. I had interest in different things. History was definitely very interesting for me. Psychology was another very, very important. Studying psychology was a very important part of my life, of my university studies. And there are many different things. And I think in deciding that I would take on music and a career in music as my profession, this came quite late in my life. I was already performing quite a bit. This was at a time when I was almost graduating from college. I studied psychology and gender studies as a university student. And I needed to decide what kind of graduate school I would pursue, whether it was going to be in general psychology or a program that would be combined master's and doctoral that would lead to licensing. And so I had to actually make a decision at the time. It is a very, very difficult program to get into, a very competitive program to get into. And there is an assumption that when one is taking that place in that program, that one would practice it upon graduation and upon being licensed. And so that's when I had to make a decision whether I would pursue a master's and doctoral program that would lead to a life in psychology, in clinical psychology, or to pursue a master's in general psychology that doesn't lead immediately to licensing, and to broaden my horizons. And because of the way my life was working out, that I would be able to really utilize all the things I've been able to benefit from, whether in school or through different opportunities and experiences I've had, that I would be able to utilize what I had gained more as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that it would be the same for everyone. For me, that's the way it worked out. And so I was already performing at that point, but when I made that decision, that is when I became even more aware of the difference between just simply playing the violin and simply performing versus becoming responsible and having a career and leading a life that actually was responsibilities of having a career as a musician, as a performer.
Mm-hmm. And like, for example, if some student comes to you and he says that he's not sure that he should play violin and follow the music, what your answer would be?
It's not an answer that I can actually give because everyone is different. His or her life is not for me to dictate. And I think that it depends on the age of the person. Of course, being asked this question by somebody very, very young, like 10 years old, versus somebody 17 or 30. This is all different. So there isn't one uniform answer. There isn't ever an answer in situations like this that is the only right one. There are many, many, many right answers. You just have to find that right answer for yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting that when I was a small pupil, it was believed that the hardest is when you're young, and then you kind of after 18 years old, you're already sure that the thing what you're going to do. But from my experience, most of my colleagues actually gave up already when they were grown up. So, yeah, I agree. But like if we come to the technical way of playing violin, what would be, in your opinion, the most important, for example, scales or some exercises? What is the most important what you're starting your day with?
I think that fundamentals are extremely important. And to keep oneself in shape so that one can take on the repertoire, so that one can take on the challenges of playing difficult pieces. I think keeping oneself in shape through good fundamental exercises and also connecting them to the repertoire. This is quite important. This is actually absolutely critical.
Do you have any favorite exercises?
I would say that my day always begins with a scale. And then it's also a way, not just for my fingers and hands, but it's my entire body, and also for my listening, to open my ears and to get into the state of mind where I can concentrate and that I can listen deeply to what I'm doing, whether it's to correct things that are not right or to notice things that are different, to also musically, artistically speaking, to hear things to respond to in music and to listen to my own interactions with this music.
Yeah. I also have a question which I very often hear from colleagues that if you have good violin or the violin and the bow, then it's like plays by itself. And what can be your answer? Like what can you do if you don't have a good violin or good bow or bows?
I think it's always a combination, and I think that, of course, it's nice to have a great violin. It's nice to have a bow. For me, a good violin gives me inspiration to work harder, to motivate me. It inspires different imagination, inspires different ideas. And it's also one that gives me challenge. So it doesn't feel that it really just collapses under my hands, but it often is a feeling that I'm getting a little bit of a kickback from both the bow and the violin. It's not easy to play the violin. It's not easy to hold a bow. And because of that, that little conflict, that little tension, maybe even friction, these things inspire me very much to do it differently, to do more, to work harder.
So, do you like to play different violins, different bows, or you like only one your violin and one your bow?
I have my violin that I've been playing, and I have a few different bows that I go. It's just also because I try to keep at least two bows that are just available to play, and then also to give a rest. I try not to have to look for places when I'm traveling to get a rehair. I try to just do it in the same place always, or a couple of places on the East Coast. And so when I'm on tour, I want to make sure that I never run out of bow to play with. So that's why I actually have two in circulation, so to say, and it's not divided according to repertoire. It's just I exchange, and also to give it a rest. Mm-hmm. So I just go I play one, and then that goes to get reheared, and then I play the other, and then I play that, and then goes to the rehair, and then I change to the other one. It's just sort of, it's always in circulation.
And if, let's say, if something happened to your violin right before the concert, would you take another violin, or would you cancel at all concert?
Of course, I always try to take care of the instrument and having regular checkups and regular work done. Once a year, there's always something that needs to be done. And so I try to actually schedule those things. So I try to prevent emergencies from happening. I do feel that I need time to adjust to a different violin. So I try to always keep mine in a good condition.
Okay, so for you it's important to use your own violin. Okay. And you have a concert on the 3rd of November in New Jersey. Could you tell a bit about it?
The concert in New Jersey is November 5. We do have a concert on the 3rd in Worcester, Massachusetts, and the 4th at the Tiller Center in Long Island, and then the 5th in New Jersey. I will be on tour with the Festival Strings Lucerne. This is a group that I really, really enjoy working with. It's led by Daniel Dodds. And my first work with them, my first project with them was the Beethoven Concerto, playing the Beethoven Concerto with them, and was supposed to include a tour and a recording. And of course, because of the COVID-19 pandemic that had just started at that time, when we were supposed to work together, the tour didn't happen, and we have a recording. And then since then, we have gone back to some of the touring that were scheduled at that time. The recording is out of the Beethoven Concerto. We will be making our second recording next year. Nice. And that is a Schumann Violin Concerto with additional 2 sets of works for originally by Schumann for both oboe and violin, or clarinet and violin, or cello, often played also on the cello, and they have been orchestrated to be played for solo violin. So we'll be making that recording. But this is a tour. This is a U.S. tour with Festival Strings Lucerne. I will be in Europe prior to that with them for a tour in Europe. And it's just really, I get a lot of inspiration working with them, and the way we listen to each other, the way we interact musically on stage, I find is something so interesting, very inspiring for me. And one thing leads to another. That one inspiration leads to another inspiration. And they have a beautiful sound, actually, as a group also. And you really sense that everyone is a part of this music making. Every person, every player, every member playing is making a contribution, and we all do this together. And I love that feeling.
And in this matter, I would like to ask, what is, in your opinion, more important, technicality or musicality?
I think both. If one notices more of the other, or one notices a lack of one of them, then it probably is just insufficiency of both.
So it should be complex. Okay. And for end of our interview, I would like to ask, do you have any favorite books maybe you would like to share?
I read quite a bit. Sometimes I don't complete things, but I read in different languages and I enjoy them. Sometimes it's just articles and not quite a novel. Yeah. Sometimes it's about music, sometimes it's not about music, sometimes it's about completely different things. So yeah, I'm reading a couple of things right now. One by Isabel Allende. And then I'm also reading something by Hans Fallada. And yeah, different things. And articles and whatever else.
That's nice. I also love to read. So I every interview I'm asking about this, so because I'm interested myself. But thank you very much for your precious time. And yes, I know you're very busy. And I also thank our listeners. I hope you enjoyed this interview, and I hope to see you in next episode. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.